In a small town in northern America, there lived a young boy named Jimmy, whose life began at absolute zero. He grew up in a modest family, his father an accountant, his mother a housewife. But when Jimmy was just 12, a storm hit. His father was abruptly laid off, and their world collapsed. Their savings evaporated, their house was repossessed, and the entire family had to move into a dilapidated old van parked right next to a junkyard. The stench was overwhelming, but Jimmy, ever the performer, teased his dad, "If we bottled this smell as eau de garbage, we'd be filthy rich." He'd pretend to sniff the air and collapse dramatically, making his siblings laugh so hard they'd forget their hunger. But when everyone else was asleep, Jimmy would sit alone, staring out at the junkyard in the dark, tears streaming down his face. He swallowed his sobs silently, knowing his family was drowning in despair. Forcing a smile, he'd whisper to himself, "Jimmy, you've got to make them smile, even if your heart's breaking." The world around him was a pit of hopelessness. Some neighbors were lost to addiction, others had given up on life entirely. At school, bullying was a sport, and Jimmy was the prime target. They mocked him, calling him Junkyard Jimmy. He'd flash a wide grin and shoot back, "Yep, trash is my treasure, 'cause I can recycle crap into comedy. But hey, I see another pile of trash in your mouth." He always got a laugh, but the victory was short-lived. Alone, he'd curl up in a bathroom stall, tears falling as the taunts cut like knives. He felt worthless, abandoned by the world. But even then, he'd swallow his tears and tell himself, "Jimmy, you're the family's sunshine. You gotta smile." Every morning he stood before the cracked mirror in the van, declaring, "Jimmy, you're the star of the junkyard. Today you'll shake the world." He'd strike a Superman pose and jump, making the van wobble and his mother laugh, helping her forget her exhaustion for a moment. But deep down, Jimmy's smiles were painful. It was as if he were tearing his own heart apart, with tears hidden behind every grin. He'd repeat his mantra, "Don't let problems hurt you. Behave like a curry with 100 chilies. It's so hot that suffering has to retreat." One quiet night, his mother sat beside him in the van, her eyes heavy with pain. "Jimmy, I'm so sorry you have to live like this," she said, her voice trembling. "I feel like I've failed you." Jimmy looked at her, forcing a smile through his own tears. "Mom, don't say that. You and Dad are doing your best. I just want us to have better days. I'll make you smile every day, no matter how much it hurts." He hugged her tightly, and they both wept, their tears mingling with a flicker of hope his words had rekindled. To support his family, Jimmy took on grueling jobs, a janitor by day, a night watchman by night. He endured taunts from co-workers. "A kid like you can't do anything." He'd just grin back, "This kid might out-earn you all one day." But walking home in the pouring rain, the facade would crumble. He'd slump under a tree, tears mixing with the rain, the weight of exhaustion and worthlessness crushing him until he could barely breathe. Smiling through the tears, he'd mutter, "Jimmy, this rain's got nothing on you." He'd stand up, striking a heroic pose in the downpour like a scene from a comedy, but inside, he was sobbing. His dream was to become a comedian, because making people laugh was his only escape from the pain. He started performing at tiny clubs where the boos often outnumbered the applause. He'd later joke, "My first gig, I told a joke, and it was dead silent. The crowd looked at me like I was rotten cabbage. So I thought, fine, I'll tell this joke to the trash instead." Once, someone threw a water bottle at him. He picked it up and quipped, "Thanks for the free drink. I was thirsty for a new punchline." But off stage, he'd sit crying in a dark corner, tears streaming as he smiled at his reflection in a broken mirror, whispering, "Jimmy, you'll be a star, even if you're bombing and breaking today." The obstacles never stopped. He once walked 15 miles to an audition because he couldn't afford a bus ticket, his shoes so worn that his toes poked through. He laughed it off. "Check it out. My shoes are designed for free ventilation." But halfway there, He collapsed by the roadside, tears of hunger and exhaustion falling onto the pavement. He remembered days when his family shared a single bowl of watery porridge. His heart felt heavy, like he was carrying the world. But smiling through the tears, he told himself, "Jimmy, you've come this far. Don't stop." When a director rejected him, saying, "You're not funny enough," Jimmy grinned. "Not funny? I'm broke as a joke. That's got to count for something." Back at the van, he hugged his knees, tears flowing as he recalled the hundreds of rejections that hammered his heart. He felt like a shadow in the dark, unseen. Forcing a smile, he declared, "Jimmy, you're the king of failure, but kings rise again." He'd spin around like an action hero, shouting, "If I retreat, I'll be ashamed of the snail. It doesn't even have legs and still doesn't think of stopping." His siblings would wake up laughing at his antics. One day, the most devastating blow arrived. A rejection letter from a major audition he had pinned all his hopes on. Alone in the van, he clutched an old family photo from happier times, tears streaming down his face. His dreams felt like a cruel illusion. He was ready to give up. Just then, his father walked in and saw his son's tears. "Jimmy," he said, his voice cracking, "I know how you feel. I've given up before, but you're different. You've got a heart stronger than mine. You've shown me there's still hope." He gripped his son's shoulders. Jimmy looked up, tears unstoppable. "Dad, I'm scared. Scared everything will fall apart. I want us to have a better life, but why is it so hard?" His father pulled him into a tight embrace. "Because life tests us, son. But this pain, it's what makes you priceless. Keep smiling, and one day the world will smile back." Those words reignited a fire in Jimmy's heart. He wiped his tears and vowed, "Dad, thank you. I'll keep fighting. For us." Years later, Jimmy's persistence paid off. He landed a role in a comedy film that became a global hit. From a kid living in a van by a junkyard, he became a celebrated star with a mansion. Yet every morning he would still tell himself, "Jimmy, you came from the junkyard. Never forget how strong you are." He still told jokes about his old life. "As a kid, I slept by a junkyard. Now I sleep on a plush bed, but that junkyard taught me failure is the best teacher." Standing on a massive stage, watching the crowd roar with laughter, tears of joy welled up in his eyes. He smiled wide and said, "Thank you all for laughing. Today I can finally smile without swallowing tears." Jimmy's story teaches us that starting from nothing is a chance to rebuild yourself. Hard work is the foundation, but cheering yourself on with humor and optimism is what nurtures growth. As he once said, "When life throws trash at you, laugh and recycle it into a crown." Happiness isn't something waiting at the finish line. It is the light you ignite within yourself every single day you keep fighting, even when you have to smile through the tears. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that inspires. We'll see you in the next one.